Welcome everyone to the North Carolina Humanities and the North Carolina Literary Review 2022 James Applewhite Poetry Reading. We are so happy to have you here with us today. I am Deborah Thomas. I'm the digital editor at the North Carolina Literary Review. And to get us started today, we are going to have Melanie with the North Carolina Humanities go over just some quick Zoom housekeeping tips for us.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Melanie. I'm with North Carolina Humanities. It's our pleasure to be co-hosting today's event with North Carolina Literary Review. So thank you to Deborah and editor Margaret Bauer for inviting us. Really quickly, want to go over some Zoom housekeeping rules so we can have a robust and engaging conversation today. Just to let everyone know, today's webinar is being recorded and it will be shared on YouTube a few days after this event. We'd love to hear from you during the event today. If you have any questions, please send those through the Q&A button on the bottom of your screen or in the chat function. We'll have a dedicated section after today's readings for question and answer. Closed captioning is also available today for those who might need it. You can click on the CC button on the bottom of your screen to enable that. And lastly, we want to encourage you to follow us on social media. We are at NC Humanities and at North Carolina Literary Review. So please go ahead and share your thoughts about that and any of the readings that you hear from today. At this time, I'd like to pass the virtual microphone over to North Carolina Humanities Executive Director, Sherry Paula Watkins, to say just a few quick words.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome you here in our virtual space today. April is National Poetry Month. We celebrate with NCLR and joining them today for this live event. This virtual poetry reading is presented by, again, North Carolina Literary Review and North Carolina Humanities, and it features past James Applewhite Poetry Prize winners, honorees, and finalists. Enjoy readings from Ann Miles, Barbara Campbell, Deborah Kaufman, Jamil Michael, Janice Harrington, Joanne Hoffman, Maureen Sherbondi, Nancy Swanson, and Stan Absher. So welcome you here. NCLR's James Applewhite Poetry Prize competition is open to any writer who fits the NCLR definition of North Carolina writer, anyone who currently lives in North Carolina, has lived in North Carolina, or uses North Carolina as subject matter. Poetry submissions are accepted April 1st through 30th, 2023. The winner receives $250 and publication in NCLR. Finalists will also be considered for publication and receive honoraria. Apply and learn more at nclr.ecu.edu. Through grant making and public humanities programs, North Carolina Humanities connects North Carolinians with cultural experiences that spur dialogue, deepen human connections, and inspire community. North Carolina Humanities is a statewide nonprofit and affiliate of the National Endowment for the Humanities. You can learn more about us at nchumanities.org. And now I want to turn it back over to Deborah. And again, just say thank you for joining us. We're so excited to be here and to celebrate poetry this month. Deborah.
Thanks, Sherry Paula. Well, thanks everybody for attending. I think she covered everything that we needed to say today. So everybody have a great afternoon. I would actually like to throw it over to my boss, the estimable Margaret Bauer, and let her say a couple of words before we get started.
Hi, everybody, and welcome, and thank you to North Carolina Humanities. I threw this at Deborah like 2 minutes before. I wanted to make sure to say thank you, a special thank you to North Carolina Humanities. We today finished up our reporting on the grant that they gave us on one of the community research grants. It was for our initiative on teaching North Carolina literature, which is helping us to broaden our mission of sharing North Carolina's rich literary history. What better way than to bring it into classrooms? And so I'm putting in the chat a link to our new page on our website that focuses, it will show you the projects that were created during this grant period, and all of which will be released when we release our fall issue in October. But you get a sneak preview as well as the call for submissions in case you need a summer project and would like to submit, because just because the grant period is over doesn't mean this initiative is over. The grant was to help us get this started, and we really want to keep it going and have your ideas about bringing North Carolina writers into classrooms, whether it's K-12 or college, or just any classroom scenario submitted to us. So I just wanted to say a special thank you as I wrapped one of our 3 grants up today, and then share the news about that. Since the product doesn't show to everyone else until October, we wanted to make sure to let you know this is happening, and say thank you, and hope that many of you who bring North Carolina writers into classroom will share the things you do that work really well with us, and we'll help you get it out. These will all be public access. That's why we're putting them in NCLR online and on our website, so that they will be free for any teacher anywhere to use. So that's it. I just want to say that. And thanks to everyone for coming. I always love meeting you, or at least kind of in person, putting faces to poems and bylines. Thanks.
Thanks, Margaret. Yeah, we all of us are super excited about this new Teaching North Carolina Literature initiative. A lot of the pieces that we have right now are kind of historical in nature, and so we are of course looking for other ways to bring in different styles of literature. So we're going to be looking for poets and poetry. We're looking for drama and plays, anything that falls under that umbrella. And of course, that feeds right into the North Carolina Literary Review mission. Since 1992, we serve to promote the North Carolina's rich literary culture. There we go. I promise I will get it, Margaret. And so we are so excited to do that both online through our website and through our digital editions, which many of you, of course, saw your Applewhite finalist poems in. Either in the fall or in the spring issue that is now out. And then, of course, in our print issue, which will be coming out, which will feature our winner and our runner-up. So you're actually getting kind of a sneak preview of those here today. So we're super excited about that. A reminder for our attendees, the Applewhite Poetry Contest we have been doing for 13 years now. We're so excited. We've already got poems rolling in. I think from several of the poets who are here with us today have submitted already this year. So we're super excited to read those. That contest window, as Sherry Paula mentioned, is open until the end of April. So if you are so inspired by our poets today that you want to go ahead and submit your own, and please let us know that you were here with us today, and we are actually going to send you a back issue, the 2016 issue, with an interview with our current state poet laureate, Jackie Shelton Green, of course, who is also the namesake of our newest poetry competition, which is a performance poetry contest, which is also running through the end of April. So if any of you want to take a new poem, do it on video, you could certainly submit to that as well. So you've got plenty of options to get your poetry out there with the North Carolina Literary Review. We're super excited about that. This year's judge for the Applewhite competition is new to North Carolina Literary Review, but she's not new to poetry. Meg Day is a poet and professor at North Carolina State University, and we're super excited to have her join us for judging this year. We trust that all of these poems are going to be so fantastic. She's going to have a really hard time deciding what's going to be this year's Applewhite winner. So without any further ado, we are going to get into reading. So we are going to start with Barbara Campbell. She is going to kick us off with her honorable mention poem. So Barbara, if you wouldn't mind telling us the title of that and then reading, please.
Yes, I'm glad to be here. Hi, everybody. The title is Dinner at Freedy's Tavern. On rare Saturdays, our father would announce he'd be taking us 3 older girls and Mom to Freedy's Tavern for dinner, just the thing to lift us out of our weekend funk, dining in the dark, oak panel, table-lamped restaurant, to us the height of sophistication. Dad would make a big deal of ordering 2 martinis and 3 Mickey Mouse cocktails with extra maraschino cherries, and we'd try to mimic Mom sipping daintily from her goblet. After a round or so, Dad with flair would order the roast beef special for all, while Mom reminded us to remember our manners and not gobble our food. But all too soon, Dad would snap his fingers and bellow, "Garçon, Timor martinis," and we'd blush, hope to die or at best disappear, pray the food would come quickly so Dad would shut up before what always happened. He'd begin to sneeze, one loud kerchief after another, muting the room and kindling stares, until our waiter, who knew the drill, brought 2 aspirin on a silver tray, which Dad would gulp down and then pay, including for the food we never got to eat, overtip, slur his thanks for the great service, and we'd flee to the car, vowing never again, as Dad jerked and swerved and Mom prayed. Yet after a couple of months, Dad would yell upstairs, "Hey, get dressed, girls, let's go to Freedy's." Connie would rouge her cheeks, Ellie tug at her tight curls, and I'd strap on my Mary Janes as fast as I could. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. A reminder that we will be doing a Q&A at the end of the reading. So if you want to drop any questions that come up while the poets are reading into the Q&A or into the chat, we'll get to those. Next up, we have Stan. Stan, can you please join us and tell us the title of your poem and read?
Patient Doe escapes the asylum and goes on the town. I will mention, if you have questions about the content, just send me a chat. Cephalophore is a Christian martyr who could carry their head after it was beheaded and walk around with it. Epigram. After the husband of Genghis Khan's daughter was killed at Nishapur in 1221 by a Muslim border guard, the Khan ordered the death of all in the city. As many as 1.7 million were killed, and their skulls were piled in pyramids by the Mongols. Doe is in a cafe. He's not sure when. He distrusts a man who knows when. Enter a felt suit with no head, a pencil and sharpener riding his hip like a 6-gun. Doe is drinking a cup of joe poured from a copper fez. He likes the aroma. Nose is the hieroglyph for joy. No head announces, "I am Jacoby, arrived on La Paloma." In the crook of his arm, wrapped in a towel, is a bundle the size of a noggin. He lays it on the table, a mask its mouth, orders an old-fashioned. "Are you smuggling the nut?" asked Doe. "Are you a saint lugging your head like a ripe gourd to ventriloquize through? For I will not drink with the dead. We must separate the living from the zombie and cephalophore. Order the disorderly, dig the fire line, isolate contagion. I guard the border between real and fake." When I visited hell, Jacoby says, I met the border guard whose arrow killed at random the great Khan's son-in-law. Oh, the tears of the Khan's daughter. Oh, the silence of Nishapur. After the Khan's daughter had ordered them all killed, every man, woman, and child, and in pyramids stacked their skulls. But most would have died. It was the Mongol way. Nonsense, said Jacoby. Fool, hater, both in a snit, in the postmodern way. They argue not facts and reason, but snark and Ipsy Dixit. They share a drink. Doe says speech was once a mighty horse. Its rider cantered like a hero. Then one day it was slaughtered. Demosthenes carried off the head, Cicero the legs, Lincoln the withers, Churchill the hooves, King the iron stomach. There remained the awful, bitterly fought over by paws on the make. The butcher said, nothing's left but the blood and excreta. I claim them as mine. He cooked and ate and voided them. Then in the dark he saw how they shine. This is something we'll remember, no head, into the future. What we write and what we say is but the excrement of a butcher.
Thank you, Stan. As Margaret just pointed out, is a 7-time finalist of our contest. So, clearly. Janice, will you please join us and read the first of yours, please?
Yes. Hi, everybody. My poem is titled Dead Sea Pantoum. Below sea level, I float on your palm, buoyed up by water denser than ocean or tears. Senior trip 10 months after the 6-day war. You clown, a magician levitating his lady. But it's dense water holding me up, not a boy in a peace sign t-shirt and aviator glasses, clowning, imitating a magician's trick. Red pillar on a high ledge, Lot's wife pities us. Girl slender as a reed, boy in a peace sign t-shirt. Sheer cliffs pocked with caves, scrolls hidden in clay jars, guarded by Lot's wife, pillar of grief. War's swinging door stirs parched air. Paved, pocked cliffs, the future a hidden scroll. My Instamatic snaps a tank, soldiers on our bus. War's swinging door, stirring parched air. A vacated bunker, a man's jacket draping a stool. I snap a tank, soldiers on our bus. You posing in a ditch below the marker, Earth's lowest point. Blue windbreaker draping your shoulder. Reckless, the sand a cache of landmines. A letter marks our life's lowest point. When we go home, you're drafted for Vietnam. Cautious, rice paddies a cache of landmines. I mail photos of us, 18 and immortal. Drafted, you didn't come home from Vietnam. Decades later, downsizing, I find a yellow box, color photos of us, 18 and immortal. Film now a relic, but we haven't aged inside the yellow box, still young decades later. Desert sun, salt, white as linen on my skin. Your grin on film, a relic. You didn't age. Don't look back at what was lost. Scorching sun, salt like linen on my skin. Our senior trip soon after the 6-day war. Don't look back at what was lost. Once below sea level, I floated on your palm.
Thanks, Janice. Up next, Anne, can you please join us? Tell us the title and read your poem. Unmute yourself, please. It's okay.
That's okay. I thought that was happening automatically. Hi, my name's Anne, and my poem is called Horizons. And just as a little bit of context for it, I lived in Iowa for 22 years and moved to North Carolina in 2021. And this poem sort of charts 3 emotional states in that process. So, Horizons. 1, in the middle. What was my destination? Vast blue, then nothing but the limit where sky meets earth. Around me, the prairie long ago plowed under, fields and unrolling sameness, turned and subject. I wondered, why should a cloud be lonely, composed of everything that surrounds it? In the foreground, the day's labor. In the distance, that line where 2 immensities touch, and I thought, yes, there it is, exactly that. My life always ahead of me, always further away. 2, in transit. 20 years fell back in my rear view, raised fields, a bright sign glowing in gray sky. At a rest stop in West Virginia, I met a woman with 3 dogs and a pickup headed the. I didn't understand what might be my old horizon lost, its pure austerities. The land around broke open, deepening into some ragged green remembrance. No more was what was granted the same as what I chose. 3, at the edge. Where the piney flatlands run out to an end in glitter and expanse. Where I have no craft to sail out towards the distance blue misted. Sand wrestles my feet down. The waves roll in whispered repetition, urging us to live by moments in their breaking. What waits beyond Earth's curve? 2 women I loved once rode these swells together while I hung back on shore. Earthbound by my fear of the rogue wave I pictured far out, gathering to drag us under, expel us shattered, or else not.
Thank you, Anne. Oh, that was lovely. Deborah, can you join us and read your poem?
Hi, thank you, Deborah, and thank you, Margaret. Thank you, NCLR. Heading west, raised on fairy tales and country air, the sisters expected buffeting winds, kept their not knowing minds open, expected to somehow prevail. They mapped the fine points of their astrology charts and set out on a fair day, not chasing a dream, but drifting a long one. Hitchhiking always west, a quiet dare buzzing in their souls. In Kansas, when the money ran out, a kindly couple invited them to the farm, meals and prayers in exchange for light chores. Excuse me, at the way, we share everything. Soon the sisters were filled with goodness and light that shone through them and made their hair shine. They lit campfires, did laundry, swept floors, planted beets and turnips in the dry, spare earth. So much to do. Bees hummed, "Come get our honey." Chickens muttered, "Here's another egg." So much to learn. They combed through the blessed study guides, chanted with the Reverend, "We care as he cares." They spoke in tongues, sang songs of praise, practiced the 9 manifestations of the Holy Spirit. God is here and everywhere. One sister stayed a year. The other is still there. Thank you.
I have so many thoughts. I will hold those for the Q&A at the end. Janice, can you join us again and read your other one?
With pleasure. The title is Vocation. It's a mystery, Sister Lou declares, sweeping her wire-rimmed gaze over us, hunched at desks in baggy maroon jumpers. Any one of you could have a calling, a seed God planted, biding time inside you till it blooms. I imagine it like that movie where a pod drops from outer space and develops into your identical twin, body, memories, but no emotion or desire. When you fall asleep, you're swapped. Overnight, my wild cousin lost interest in lipstick, miniskirts, kissing, and the twist, picked convent over college, trading a fraternity ring for a nun's plain band. I worry one morning I'll wake up wanting Jesus. I'm not his type. He watches me pass notes during daily devotion, fib in the confession booth, and in chapel read romance novels disguised by my missal cover. He sees me break pre-mass fast with a glazed donut and still take his body on my tongue. Even so, I don't feel safe. At night, no one awake but the black ants tunneling in my sister's ant farm, her hamster spinning his miniature Ferris wheel. I scan my body. Vigilant as a NASA radio antenna tuned to the Milky Way, I remain alert for an alien spasm, flutter, twitch, or ache, a signal that faith is taking root.
Thank you. Joanne, where are you? Will you join us, please? Tell us the title of your poem and read. Joanne, wait, unmute yourself right quick. Yep,
Sorry.
that's okay.
Hi, everyone. Delighted to be here. My poem is The Divine Miss Hitchens. Beauty and authority radiated from the lipsticked, spike-heeled spinsterhood of Miss Dorothy Hitchens, children's librarian at Kent Branch Library through the 1950s. I was a devoted disciple, tethered as tightly by the creed of Summer Reading Club and the famous American series of orange-bound biographies as by the perfect halo of pin curls that crowned my idol's head. She fed me books like ambrosia on hot Ohio afternoons, and I feasted at the children's tables inside cool marble walls that echoed with the tiny taps of the elegant Miss Hitchens' heels. One summer, I filled my little booklet neck and neck with Robert Redkevich, who always read the most, and she praised my second prize while we summer readers hovered near the altar of her desk. I wonder what heaven Miss Hitchens inhabits, beaming angel of the cosmos of books, Each time I inhale the incense of library air or kneel to search a bottom shelf, I breathe out thanks to Dorothy Hitchens, who gifted me with this religion. Thank you.
Librarians are masters of the universe. That is a hill I will die on. Maureen, your turn.
Hi. Thanks for putting this together. I want to give a shout out to Mr. Peters' Athens Drive High School class. Captain Von Trapp in the surgical suite. It's Christopher Plummer in surgical scrubs, holding a guitar instead of a scalpel. I tell him his version of Edelweiss is a favorite memory from my youth, that every man I later dated was held up to him in that one glowing moment, and no one has compared to Captain Von Trapp. My present husband sings karaoke even though he lacks the voice. It takes a certain kind of man to belt out lyrics out of tune and in front of an audience. Christopher Plummer is about to remove my uterus. I tell him I have terrible doubts about his skill as a surgeon. Just because a person is talented in one arena doesn't mean that ability spreads to other areas like medicine. Trust me, he says. The infusion into my veins is a bottle of my favorite gin. Feeling woozy, I shrug, realizing I no longer control either body or life. Before falling under, I recall reading that Edelweiss was dubbed in by another singer. Is the illusion of talent just as good as the real thing? Too late to change doctors, I fade in the clean white room, seeing star-like flowers rising as Edelweiss carries across the gurney and my uterus dances away from my body.
How evocative. Thank you, Maureen. Jamal, will you join us, please?
Hi, everyone. My name is Jamal Michel. Thank you so much again to the council and the other poets, the other amazing poets, for allowing me to share this space. My poem is titled Any Adjectives for Divorce. There's no more Carolina wrens in the backyard. Their old bath, a small divot of dried leaves impregnating space. There's green coming soon on the edges of that old divot. I lost an hour of my 31st birthday to some 19th century asshole. But here in my father's backyard, nothing looks completely dead yet. The faucet, a hoseless respite for the few thirsty coal skinks. I read a synonym for the adjective blue is vulgar or obscene. My mother said all she ever wanted was my father to leave, pack his indiscretions in a leather case. But he only carries oil paintings in them now. One of two twisted faces, he says, is a self-portrait. Like Mom, I know when he's lying. There's no paint blue enough for our obscenities. Like all children, I never asked to be made in the image of my parents' crusades. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamal, for that. For our last two, Nancy, will you unmute yourself and share your runner-up, your second place poem, please?
Yes, thank you. I'm so glad to be here. The poem is called Deep Woods. As fall's first leaves float toward earth, I descend to the river, following steps traced in dust, buried by mud, beneath flat stones, and walk where wildlife paused to drink before Columbus found the New World. already ancient. Danger lies everywhere. The bright snake immobile and invisible on the path, makeshift ladders that tremble underfoot, a brown bear leading cubs to a crevice with liquid sliding down the walls, a stumble, a wrong turn, a night without human comfort. Worst, the insidious three-headed poison ivy, overgrown, reaching from trailside, suspended from overhead branches. I've lost my gloves and push hands already contaminated into pockets while I close my eyes and try to regain balance. I stay in eternity growing cold, remembering a vine-wrapped child in a fort high enough to see home, my mother drinking wine as she sets the table, the circle of light at the back door, a tub of hot water that spreads the poison. Although I simmered and bubbled for weeks, I find no scar except the fear that sends me forward, for there's nowhere else to go.
Thank you. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you.
Barbara, will you take us home with your Applewhite winning poem? Unmute. There you go. All right. Oh, no, wait, you went back.
Yeah, there.
There you go. Yep.
Believe me, I am so honored to win. I've never won anything, so this is lovely. My poem is Half an Avocado and a Dollop of Hollandaise. My mother sent me, and my father back for lunch fashion and bring her a goblet with water and crushed ice. First the hot soup, then the boat-shaped avocado with hollandaise puddling its hollow. He talked about his latest case and she about the misdeeds of the grandkids who called her Nanny Nona. Each time that lunch went well, she'd believe she could stop drinking, and he'd believe she would. Thank you.
Barbara, I hate to do this. Can you read it again for us? You were freezing a little bit for some of us, and I think we lost some of the beginning of your poem. So if you don't mind, could we try it again? It's so beautiful. I really want people to listen to the whole thing.
Yes, I'd be happy to. I'm sorry about the freezing.
It's okay.
Okay, half an avocado and a dollop of hollandaise. My mother would set the small oval table in the den overlooking the harbor with her linens and semi-good china, and my father, back for lunch from his law practice, would make his one old-fashioned and bring her a goblet with water and crushed ice. First, the hot soup, then the boat-shaped avocado with hollandaise puddling its hollow. He'd talk about his latest case and she about the misdeeds of the grandkids who called her Nanny No-No. She and my father were at their best at this lunch. He, revived by his cocktail and chat, she at her most sober in her role as good wife. And each time the lunch went well, she'd believe she could stop drinking, and he believed she would. Was that okay?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, and congratulations.
Thank you.
The Yes, okay. Margaret, can you join us for just a second and kick off our Q&A? And just, I just want you to briefly touch on kind of what all goes into how we choose, how we narrow down the hundreds and hundreds of poems that we get submitted into picking this amazing Half an Avocado poem that Barbara wrote.
Well, it's hard. Because we receive, I think last year, I'm trying to remember, was it 800 total poems finally? We receive up to 5 by each poet. I do want to note that we don't charge a submission fee. You do have to be a subscriber, so everybody wins because you still get NCLR. And so I put a link to the, I think I put a link to the guidelines in here, to the full guidelines. And so we get all the poems in and we divide them up among our amazing readers, all of whom are poets and or scholars of poetry. And they help us narrow down. And then all of those semifinalists go to Jeff, our poetry editor, Jeff Franklin. Last year, I think that was 80 poems, and he reads and remarks on all 80. That's one of the things that makes him so special. He gives feedback. I get lots of nice letters from people afterwards. Glad that, you know, he has something to say to kind of, you know, give you encouragement or help to turn the poem into something for the next place you send it to. And then he chooses what we're going to publish in NCLR, and we send those to the final judge. And the judge is given kind of an open, you know, you can name a first, second, third, honorable mentions, whatever comes to mind. And while that's going on, we are usually it depends on how many finalists there are that are going to the judge of whether we know we can publish them all or not. A lot of times it's too many, so we're kind of frantically reading behind the scenes to kind of start thinking, okay, can we do all of these, or is it too many for this year? It kind of depends. And or we may have sent the finalists on and we want to take Jeff's other batch that he said, hey, there might be some revision that could be done, and then resubmission, and they can submit again. And so that lots going on behind the scenes while the judge is reading. And of course, everything is done anonymously, you know, as far as the reading and everything. So I think that's about it.
Yeah, that's great. So that's really a lot of work that goes back to the poets, right? Like I imagine that a lot of contests, and you just kind of throw your stuff, your work out there, and you hope you may hear something or not. But it sounds like there's just so much so much value that comes from submitting to the Applewhite contest, and of course, I'm sure will come from the Jackie Shelton Green Performance Poetry Contest as well. So just to encourage everybody, again, through April 30th, you can submit your stuff. We've had a couple of questions along the same lines that came in, as far as, are these poems based on real life events, or are they purely made up things? I think Maureen had that question about her piece. I'm sure Janice probably has had that question as well. If you guys could speak for just a minute, or if anybody wants to kind of come back on with their cameras and talk a little bit about, just briefly, about what were these real memories that you were writing about, or were they something else sparked your imagination?
I'll answer first. Athens Drive asked the question about my poem. I kind of do a lot of free associating when I'm writing. It's almost like having a waking dream, and things will just rise to the surface and come together in some strange way. I think that's what happened with this poem. You know, there are certain truths in it, and maybe things that were going on at the time, and then just going with the imagination.
Mm-hmm. I can say a word about my Dead Sea Pantoum.
Please.
My high school class did go to Israel the year, actually not even a full year after the 6-day war. So we did tour a deserted, abandoned bunker in the Golan Heights. And I was always struck by the jacket that had been left there. We had soldiers on our bus. We swam in the Dead Sea, or tried to. There was a marker about the Earth's lowest point, which we all thought was hilarious since we could stand in a ditch beside it. But I made up, and I guess because Israel is biblical country, I thought that Lot's wife fit in because she was punished for looking back. But I made up the love story in the Vietnam.
That's awesome. Wow, what a trip, what a memory. Yeah, that's amazing. Deborah, I saw you came back on. Did you have a comment about your poem?
I just meant to be friendly and see everybody's faces, but
excellent. Wonderful.
yeah, I've been reading a lot about cults ever since Donald Trump was elected, and have been writing about them and reading about them. So that idea of the hitchhiking sisters was based on a story that I was told, but not to me.
Wow. Wow.
The Way, the Way is one of the largest cults in the country. I don't know if it still is, but
Interesting. We have a question in the chat. Did COVID affect your writing? Question mark. And the suggestion, topics or style or routine? That's a good question. Anybody like to jump on that? Certainly, I'm new to the NCLR, so I'm not certain if this kind of event happened before then. I know that in 2020, with that crop of poets, certainly there was the pivot to do the reading online. So for our end, we certainly were able to enjoy the silver lining of everybody being able to be here together with that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was able to see Diane Seuss read, on a Zoom video, which would never have happened here. She wouldn't have been in Raleigh probably, or Durham. And it gave me more time to write, because even though it was really difficult teaching, I teach at a community college, so I was teaching 6 classes from home, but because I didn't have to make the long drive in, I actually had more time to ponder, and there was nowhere else to go really. So it actually was great for my writing. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Barbara, did you want to take a crack at that one?
Hold on. Yes, I think the time, just being so confined, was probably a good thing. I am in a poetry group, and we started meeting virtually then, and in a way it was so much easier. I mean, you didn't have to worry about getting dressed and getting in a car and going anywhere. We'd have a lot of jokes about what was really below our weight while we sat there. But also it was helpful because we got to keep meeting, which helps me a lot. It's a small group, and it's run by Danny Romine Powell, whom you probably all know. And so in some ways the pandemic was helpful, but in many other ways it wasn't. So
sure. Yeah. Are all of you members of kind of a local poets or writing group that you meet with either in person or on Zoom?
I am in a small group of 4. My husband's in it actually, because he's a poet, and Chris Abati and another friend named Nancy from Fuquay Varina, and it's great. We meet monthly. I've always been in groups.
Awesome. Anne, you joined us. Are you in a group?
Yeah. Well, I only really started writing poetry again after a long hiatus in 2018. And so more of my writing has been with COVID and not, but I hopped on because I started a little writing group in Iowa where I lived in I guess it was early 2019, which, you know, quickly enough went to Zoom. And now I'm in North Carolina and it still goes on. And it's actually bi-coastal. A friend from my MFA program who lives in Maine is in it now. So, you know, Zoom, I think, boy, if we hadn't had Zoom and, you know, that, I would have lost that connection. So
Sure.
it's a 2 time zone writing group. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Joanne.
Well, one thing that COVID did, as far as writing groups for me is concerned, is that it brought more people, more geographic diversity into the writing groups that I was in. I'm in 3 poetry groups right now, and they all have a little different character, which really makes it interesting. But bringing in, knowing what my friends say in Washington State is doing and what's happening in Indiana. And I have a friend in Maine too. Anne, do you know, the gal that just moved from North Carolina that many of you know is Jean Julian. I know many of that name is known to you, but you're not her friend. She has a friend, Anne, who's a poet in Maine.
No.
But no, that was kind of interesting when you said Maine. I think that COVID has really done a lot to bring poets together from different parts of the country.
Yeah. That's amazing. 3. Wow. That's incredible. I love it. I love the voices. We had another question come in the chat in regards to your process and the way that you approach poetry. What influences you to write form poetry or not? I'm assuming that that person means a very specific poetry form. Well, that's clearly what that says, Deborah. Stan, you want to take a crack at that? I think yours was a little more compact. I clearly need to get my words.
Well,
together.
yeah, it was in rhyming quatrains, partly rhyming. Excuse me. Have a frog in my throat and a fog in my brain. I've been sick for a week. I'm at the time I prefer writing in form if I can come up with a form that fits what I'm writing. Some things are just really hard to, I think rightfully so, to put in form, but and sometimes it adds a lot of time to the composition, to writing a poem, and it changes, hopefully most of the time in good ways, what's actually in the poem. But it's just, yeah.
Yeah, the Patient Doe poem.
Yeah.
Like what was that? How long was that process? Like how many iterations did that go through?
I first drafted it so long ago, I have no idea.
Fair, that's fair.
No idea. So it probably started back in the early 2000s.
Oh, wow.
Along with a lot of other poems in that voice. But I don't know how long that one took.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Yes, please, Janice.
I would say I chose a pantoum form for my Dead Sea poem because it's a memory. And I think pantoums are really good because they circle around and loop back. I think that's how memory works. Instead of telling a story, a narrative in a linear way, point A to B, a straight line. So that's why, so the material really determines if I choose a form or not. In my book, my recent book, I did all sonnets because that was a really good way to contain very emotional material and to fit it into a box and get rid of what didn't belong.
Joanne, yes.
I really like the discipline of writing in forms, and especially one part that I find challenging and good as an exercise is the wordplay that it brings about. Because when you have to fit in a certain meter, or if you're trying to rhyme a word and choosing that just the right word that's going to fit in here because it has to, I just really enjoy that.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. I can see that. That makes a lot of sense, and it provides for your growth as well, right? As a writer.
Exactly. And
yeah,
to Jan's point, though, you can't, everything doesn't lend itself to a form, and some things only lend themselves to forms.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's incredible. We've got time for just a couple more questions before we get out of here. If anybody do any of our panelists want to ask another panelist a question about their poem? We've gotten some great ones for the audience that have been come in. So if anybody wants to share with their
While y'all are thinking, I'll put this out here too. Please, all of you, if you have a book coming out, don't forget to let us know so we can put it on the book review list for review consideration as well.
Yeah. And moving forward, we would like to do more events, with people's books, coming out. So, the NCLR would like to be involved with those as well. I know that we've got Jamal. Where are you actually located? Are you in North Carolina right now?
I am, yeah. I'm in Cary.
Okay. Oh, you're in Cary. Okay, great. For some reason, I was thinking that you had graduated or that you were working somewhere else. I apologize about that.
Everything is here. I was in the NC State's MFA program, and now I'm doing stuff at NPR, but it's all remote, thankfully.
Oh, okay.
But also,
cool.
The result of the pandemic changing everything.
Yeah. So we've got people across the state, right? So we originally wanted to go see people. We wanted to go see Nancy, and we wanted to go see Barbara. And, we of course love doing things in Greenville at our home at ECU. And so we would, we want to do that as well. But we love this, we love the ease of this too. So, and as NC Humanities pointed out, they also have a book club, which is their North Carolina Reads program. So if you're looking for some more inspiration, they do these wonderful monthly book club reads. I read one of the ones earlier this year that is a historical fiction based on a woman in Eastern North Carolina, the first African-American landowner. I think that's correct. I'm saying that correctly. Anyway, it was a fantastic read. So if you're like me, you have a TBR shelf that's, taller than you are. And so you probably don't need any more books to read. Barbara, yes, please.
I want to know the name of the book you just spoke about, the one that you.
Yeah, Carolina. Yeah, thank you, Melissa. Carolina Built by Kiana Alexander.
It's in the chat too.
Yeah, they just put that in the chat.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stan. That was a really great one. Well, folks, we are at 2:00. So unless anybody has a kind of a last minute question, thanks, Cheryl. Then we will say thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, and make sure that you get over. And Margaret, can you throw up the guideline link one last time, right quick? Make sure you come over to our website and check out all of the guidelines for submitting your poems for the 23 Applewhite Poetry Contest. And please share that information with your networks as well. We've got plenty of information on the website. Of course, we've got information on our Facebook page and our Instagram, so you can share it through your social media. That we'll be accepting poems through the end of the month, both written for the Applewhite and performance poetry for the Green Prize. And
if you click on that one, there's a tab of all our contests at the top, so you can click from there to the Jackie Shelton Green Performance Poetry Prize contest if you want to submit to that.
And
that one we need videos.
And keep an ear out, because we will also be doing some events with the North Carolina Poetry Society, who is co-sponsoring the Green Poetry Performance Poetry Prize with us. So we're going to be doing an event with them later on in this month. So we're excited about that. Again, thank you so much, everyone, for agreeing to read, for submitting. Barbara and Nancy, congratulations again on your winning poems. And we will see you guys in June for our print issue. Thank you so much.